Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we have got 3 new supporter cards that we need to be taking a little bit of a look at. Of course, I say 3 new supporter cards, but one of them is actually not a new supporter card at all. So we might as well start off there with a reprint of Caitlyn. Yeah, that's right. Caitlyn's back. Not Cynthia and Caitlyn, actual Caitlyn. Caitlyn came out in Plasma Blast a few years back and was a nice little fringe supporter that saw a bit of play here and there. And Caitlyn's back exactly like she was before. What you do is you put as many cards from your hand as you like on the bottom of your deck in any order, and then you draw a card for each card you put on the bottom of your deck. Now, this isn't really a draw engine per se, and it actually leaves you at -1. Because if you put 4 cards under your deck, you draw 4 cards, but you've played Caitlyn, so you've dropped Caitlyn from your hand, which means that you are actually 1 card down on what you had previously. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, this did not see a huge amount of play back in the day. Now, the theory behind it is absolutely sound. The theory is, well, let's say you're playing a Stage 2 deck. You need to get the Stage 2, you need to get the rare candy. You've got the rare candy in hand, so what you essentially do is play Caitlyn, you drop every card in your hand other than the rare candy to the bottom of your deck, and then you draw a bunch of new cards, 4, 5, 6 cards, however many it might be. But when you do that, you guarantee that you have already got the rare candy in hand. You draw a bunch of cards, and the chances of hitting your Stage 2 to go with your rare candy end up being pretty gosh darn high. It is a good option as a draw supporter, but it didn't work brilliantly last time we had it. And I hate to say it, ladies and gentlemen, but I am not sure it's going to work brilliantly this time. Because at the end of the day, you are lowering your hand size. And honestly, we've got some decent options. Right now, everybody's playing Marnie and everybody's playing Professor's Research. And does anybody think this could supplant them from some decks? We've got Bianca, lets you draw until you've got 6 cards in your hand. No, it's not Bianca anymore. It's Corinna's Focus. Although it does exactly the same thing that Bianca used to do. We've got stuff like Bruno, which is a shuffle draw 7 if you had a Pokemon KO'd the previous turn. So that's something we could play. And my point is here that we've got a bunch of other supporters which I think will end up being better in a lot of games. So as much as I like this and as much as it's cool to see an old supporter card return, I was playing very heavily when Caitlyn came out the first time. And yeah, fine, it popped up in a few decks here and there, but it was not central to the supporter line of most decks around, and I worry that that's basically what we're going to end up seeing here. I'm giving it 3 Wassies because it's still an interesting draw card, and it's still one that could absolutely help some decks, but don't expect it to be at the center of a bunch of decks. I would put it, in terms of if I was power ranking them, I'd put it below things like Corinna and Bruno. Sorry. But we do have a brand new card. We've got Agatha, and Agatha's actually making her TCG debut in, well, what is now Chilling Reign, which is kind of cool. And bearing in mind, Agatha was one of the Elite 4 back in Gen 1. Agatha's really waited a very long time to get a card. Has it been worth the wait? Well, our translation here does come from the lovely Antoine Boulet. Didn't need a translation for Caitlyn. Absolutely do for Agatha. And what you do is move up to 3 damage counters from your active Pokemon to your opponent's active Pokemon, healing you, dealing damage to them. And the thing is, you're actually doing a bunch here and it's all pretty good. You are healing yourself. That's a good thing. It's basically a potion. You're removing 3 damage counters, and you are dealing 3 damage. And bearing in mind, if you go back a little bit, we had that combination of Hypnotoxic Laser and Verbank City Gym, which would basically be an item card that did 3 damage. Now, you got to bear in mind that you could have the sleep, Although, to be honest, there was only a 50% chance to sleep, and then there was an immediate 50% chance they'd wake up before their turn anyway. So it was only like 1 in 4 turns it actually stuck. But it could sit there and keep doing free damage counters after your turn, your opponent's, your turn, your opponent's, etc. So it's not exactly the same, but it's a similar kind of thing. And this is cool. It also reminds me quite a lot of Grimsley. Now, remember, Grimsley is different. Grimsley moves free damage counters from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another. This moves free damage counters from your active to your opponent's active. And it's got to be your active, and it's got to be their active. Doesn't happen on one of your bench, one of their bench, any of that rubbish. It's got to be active to active, or else it doesn't work. And you know what? It's cool. I like the healing. And I like that you are putting a bit of extra damage on them. The thing is, this all comes down to numbers. If you can take yourself just out of range of a KO, this is obviously brilliant. If you can put your opponent just into range of KO, this is brilliant. And bearing in mind, we are moving into a VMAX format, where VMAXs just don't one-hit KO themselves without weakness. Eternatus hits a maximum 270 damage. Victini VMAX generally hits 220. Centiskorch can get one-hit KOs, to be fair, but losing Welder means it's going to have a very difficult time doing so. So we are moving into a situation where one-hit KOs, especially in terms of in the bigger decks, are going to become a lot rarer than they have been for the last couple of seasons. So maybe something like this is good. But I come back to what I said just a moment ago. It is really dependent on the numbers. So maybe Eternatus could play this, because against Victini you need to do 310, you're hitting 270. So you're going to be playing Galarian Zigzagoon, so you get hit by Victini, you play Agatha, you play Galarian Zigzagoon, you attack for 270, that's exactly 310, there is the KO. You're bringing yourself down from 220 to 190, and actually, you're still easily in range, alright? Victini's easily 2-hit KO, but that's not really the point, alright? The point is, if you can find those matchups where these numbers are going to be big, it's a great card, but this is not a standard, ordinary, everyday, run-of-the-mill utility card. This is, I am just getting 2-hit KO'd, or I am just missing out on a key KO, and if either of those two things is true for an important matchup, then Agatha becomes a really good card. Let's go ahead and give her between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. Not an everyday card, not an every deck card, not even an every game card when you are playing it, but one that could really help some specific matchups. And then the final supporter card we need to have a little bit of a look at today is Doctor. Draw 2 cards. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon VMAX, draw 2 more cards. It's alright. It's honestly the kind of thing we've seen over and over again. You see, in the Pokemon trading card game, we are more than happy to let you draw 3. We saw Cherin, and then Cherin became Tiano, and then Tiano became How, and then How became Hop. Lots of friends coming along in the TCG letting you draw 3 cards. That is a very standard thing that we see all the time. Drawing 4 cards, however, that is weird and new and different. Well, not different, but it's rare, okay? So, Gym Trainer. You draw 2 cards, but if you had a Pokemon KO'd last turn, now you get to draw 4 cards instead. Like I say, you can draw 4, but you've got to pay for it. League Staff, draw 2 cards, but if Wyndham Stadium is in play, you draw 2 more cards. Now, here it really comes down to whether you're playing Wyndham Stadium, honestly, because your opponent probably isn't going to. Dan's always a fun one. You'd play rock, paper, scissors and draw 4 cards if you win. That was quite fun. Coach Trainer. Now, Coach Trainer is very similar, except actually it's not quite that similar. You see, Coach Trainer was draw 2 cards If your active is a tag team, draw 2 more cards. And incidentally, this is why Coach Trainer saw quite a bit of play. And it's the one of these kind of supporters that really did see play. And the reason, very simply, is it's in your control. Your active needed to be a tag team, and if your active was a tag team, you got the extra 2 cards. That was the difference. The problem with this is it's if your opponent active is a Pokemon VMAX. Now, if you make this like Coach Trainer and it's dependent on my active, not yours, I might well play this in a bunch of decks, because actually drawing 4 cards is pretty gosh darn good. The thing is, if you really want a supporter that draws 2 cards, and you probably won't, but if you do, play Beauty. Because Beauty is a supporter card that can actually be played on your first turn going first and draws you 2 cards. It's kind of terrible, if I'm honest with you, because remember, Hop is still in the format. But because you can use it on your first turn going first, it actually kind of works in an it's still not particularly good kind of way. Here, unless the format turns into a super hyper VMAX heavy format, it's just not going to be looking particularly good. And the problem is, even if we do end up in that kind of format, your opponent can still just leave a Pokemon V active occasionally, and then this supporter card won't work for you anymore. Which is super annoying. I like being a positive, cheery dude, and I want to be a positive, cheery dude. And I honestly think that, like Beauty we mentioned a moment ago, I think this might be a bad card. If you can guarantee that your opponent is going to always, or at least often, have a Pokemon VMAX in the active, then you've got to draw 4 and it's awesome. But if they don't, it's a draw 2, and it is just objectively worse than Hop and Beauty, and Hop and Beauty are widely considered to be bad cards. So unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, unless you can guarantee, and I don't think you're going to be able to guarantee, I don't think this is going to be fun. I'm giving it 2 Wassies, and I'm sorry, I know that's a really low score. I don't usually give 2 Wassies. 2 Wassies is kind of reserved for cards which just I don't think are going to see much play at all, even in kind of friendly league decks. And when you've got a card that most of the time is going to be worse than a card that sees no play, Hop. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry. But there we go. We've got 3 new supporter cards, and you know the deal at this stage, ladies and gentlemen. It's over to you. I want to know what you think about all of these, so go nuts in the comment section. But be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.